Video 14, how to paint nasturtiums for beginners. I started painting this video and it cut off, so I'll recap what I've done, and it's very simple. I've used a hog bristle brush to give me a background and a foreground here, and my background is burnt sienna and my foreground is Naples yellow, but I didn't clean the brush off, so as you can see it's slightly darker than a normal Naples yellow, than a virgin Naples yellow, if you like. And I've sort of marked in a shadow area where my subject is going to go, which is going to be the vase. And I was explaining that I did a simple painting of nasturtiums the other day, and I thought it would be a really good painting for beginners, because we can keep it really nice and simple. And I will also just put a disclaimer in that my neighbour has stolen part of my garden and decided to use the back of my art studio as the barrier for his garden, rather than the actual fence, because there is a pathway around my art studio, around the back of my art studio, and a fence barrier which gave me some obviously peace and quiet, and obviously was my garden, and he's basically taken that down and stolen it. And I've told him to put it back and better do it quick, so they're doing that now. And also it just means that they're making a lot more noise. There should obviously be some more quiet around here. I don't even know how to explain what goes on in people's minds, that they think they can just do that, take your fence down and steal your path. His logic was, you don't use it, so I can steal it. Anyway, try not to get my blood pressure up. And then he's got these sort of cowboy builders round, crikey, who've also been knocking on the door going, do you want your gutters doing? No, I don't. Go away. So I shouldn't be this stressed while I'm painting, but I haven't put a video out for a while, so I really wanted to do that for you now. I'm going to just do a glass vase this time. And what I'm going to do is just wet off my brush with linseed oil and wipe it so that it hasn't really got any paint. And then I'm going to do a mark out by sort of just almost wiping off the paint where my glass vase is going to go. And this is going to be the shadow. I'd like this shadow probably to be warmer. And also we need slightly more robust colouring where this background is here. You know, it's the lack of privacy. I mean, these people are literally in my garden now, talking right up against the wall of my art studio, where I have a path which they have no right to be on. I'm going to have to go out and check that they're actually not trying to steal a bit. I think they're putting the fence back after my firm words, but I have to go and check they're not trying to steal a bit of, making a little land grab nonetheless. I just cannot believe it. I mean, who does that? Imagine if you just staked your claim on every bit of unused land you thought wasn't being used the way you would like to see it used, and you just thought, well, I'll have that then. A few landowners would have something to say about it, I'm sure. It's not like he hasn't got a good sized garden. He has. And worse than that, he's built right up to the damp proof course on my garage. So if he doesn't remove it and we get heavy rain, it's going to cause me damp, because it's going to seep in over the damp proof course. I mean, you don't need to hear this. Okay, let me get off this subject. It's hard though, because this is my art studio and they shouldn't be here making the noise and chatting behind me. This should be completely private. So I'm pretty angry, yeah. This is where I make my YouTube videos, and I don't know if the camera's picking that up then. It's very annoying. So here we have our glass marked out, and we've got, I'm going to just put on, this is a really dry touch of white. I mean, it's just almost like powder. I'm just going to, I don't want a big lump of white. I just want to, we'll probably need a bit more than that. I just want to lighten it up in some areas here. This is just titanium white, and just to give a bit of variation in the background there. Foreground rather. We're not going to go too complicated, because when you're first starting oil painting, and I'm assuming you are a beginner, you wouldn't watch this if you're experienced. You're trying to, there are so many, people don't think because it looks so simple, but there's actually quite a lot of technicality to oil painting. That doesn't mean that it's complicated. All it means is, it's like when you first start to drive a car. Right, you have to concentrate on, you know, getting your wing mirror right, putting your seatbelt on, and you know, working out what all the gears mean, and that's even before you know, turn on the engine. You know, pressing the clutch down when you change gears, and then you build up, and then you have to do the road signs and various different types of roads, and cars coming at you, and turn left, turn right, do a roundabout. You build up to it, and it's the same with oil painting. I think it's exactly the same. So this is to keep it simple, because if it's overcomplicated, you might not want to have a go. And if you can't achieve, you know, a brilliant still life, you might feel that you're just not very good. And it's not true. We all do. I still do rubbish paintings even now. I mean, I just do. I just have bad days, usually when I'm stressed about my neighbours stealing my land. So let's see how this one comes out. I've got neighbours the other side who've stolen my land as well. And they did it. They were really sneaky. They did it during the sale of this property. Anyway, it actually doesn't bother me that much, because they've put quite a nice fence up, and the privacy isn't affected, and it's only about an inch. So I'm not going to get into a wrangle with them about it. But so, right, so nasturtium flowers are sort of, I'm going to use sap green. We're going to keep it simple. I'm just going to mark them out with plain sap green. I'm still going to keep using this hog bristle brush, because I think also it gives it quite a nice, if you are a beginner, it does give it a, I told you in my unboxing when I bought these brushes, I love them. You don't always want to paint with them. You do sometimes want a smoother look. And I will use a smoother brush in a minute, but you just get these nice brush textures, which if you're a novice can still make the painting really nice. And I'm just going to mark in where my nasturtium leaves are. So you can see they're quite easy, quite round. Hopefully that's a fence post going back in, and it's not going back in on my land. I'm going to have to go and check. I know I'm going to have to go and check. And then, you know, we're going to just start with them all the same colour. Let's just start with them all the same colour. We can vary it all later. We have smaller ones. Let's have some little, you know, little ones reaching up here that haven't, you know, they sort of get bigger. These nasturtium leaves, they can be massive sometimes. And then, you know, let's get a bit of phthalo blue on our brush, just to cool and darken the green for these kind of other background areas, because there's a big mass of these, where that one overlaps there as well. Let's just put, so there's a big mass of these wonderful, you know, leaves receding. You can lighten it up so that it's almost, touch it lightly so that it's just almost like a blur. Because if you think of these ones coming forward, you're not, all you're aware of is that there's a mass. You're not aware of the detail of these ones. So let's just say these are the ones that are behind up here. Okay, And let's have this one's going to be more forward, but it is darker because it's in shade. So what we've done is nothing really complicated at all. We've done burnt sienna in the background. We've got some Naples yellow across the front. We've decided our shadows are going to be this side. And we'll go into more detail with the shadows in a little while. We wet our brush with linseed oil to take off a little bit of the paint to give us a glass vase shape. We've used sap green to mark in some of the foreground nasturtium leaves here. We've darkened it with no more than phthalo turquoise to give us some darker areas, which are receding leaves. So all our flowers and foreground leaves are going to be laid on top of these. Okay, so this is not rocket science. You can do this. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to lighten up our sap green with a bit of cadmium yellow. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to mark out on some of these leaves where there is more light, and we're going to keep it rough because the light doesn't always just catch. It's not necessarily a light bulb. It could be light coming through a window, past curtains, past books. You know, it's broken up. It's not all, and also the way it catches the leaves. Sometimes on the other side here, it might catch on the far side. And we're going to take a bit of titanium white, and I mean a little bit, and we're going to lighten some of these parts even more. And we're going to lighten the back of this leaf here, look, to give it an almost three-dimensional feel there. Okay. And there. So if you don't think like that, going back to this neighbour of mine, I would never dream of stealing someone's garden. I mean, it just wouldn't come into my mind. So I am always really thrown by people who just do that. And when I spoke to him and said, "What are you doing?" He honestly, I could tell by his reaction, could not understand what the problem was. He just felt so entitled to do what he was doing. I can't get that. I guess, I don't know. I just, honestly, sometimes people leave me absolutely baffled. They really do. So as you can see, I just, such a waffler. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm not going to talk about it again. I've reiterated the white marks. I'm not even going to blend it because I think, you know, if you're doing a still life, I mean, this could be considered a sketch. What you're doing is you're just feeling for your brush, your paints, your lights, your darks. You're just feeling around the painting. You know, if this is your first painting, it's not going to be your masterpiece, but it could still be a really nice painting that gives you a fantastic sense of achievement, you know. So don't sort of knock it, just, you know, really enjoy it. I'm going to keep this overlapping leaf. I'm just going to keep it, I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter. Nasturtium leaves also, they kind of have, they're almost, I mean, they're not octagonal, but they have that kind of almost sort of geometric feel about them. So you can just sort of indicate that with a, you know, with little strokes of light and variations in colour towards the centre there of the leaf. Okay, and then in the very centre we're going to get a muted titanium white. We've muted it by not cleaning off the green off the brush, and we're going to pop in a little suggestion of the centre of the, and we don't want it to be bright white because that's going to jar. And then we can, again with the same, what we're going to do is we're going to add some suggestion of stems. And I probably would need to go to a less, so I'm going to get a smoother flat brush, which I'm going to load with a bit of the lighter actually I'm going to have it a little bit more yellowy, so I'm going to do the sap green with a bit of the yellow, and I'm going to use the flat brush, and I'm just going to dab on there the suggestion of the some, and I'm going to put some in the background here before I even place the flowers on. I'm going to put some tendrils. Anyway, I mean, at least he's putting the post back, because I did think I was going to have a legal battle. But it seems that that is not going to be necessary unless he's building that fence right on my path. Oh gosh, I ought to go out, but I'm so busy. I just want to get this video done, and then I'm going to go and see what they're doing. Right. I'm going to put another leaf down here. I just decided to do that, and you can do that whenever you like. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to use my smoother brush now, actually, because I do actually like that. Yeah. See how you get different effects? So I just decided that I actually prefer this effect now. There we go, and deepen the green. So you're restating. So I'm not overworking this. I'm restating what I've already done. So what I did originally was a sketch, and I've got things in place, and now I'm restating those things. I think that's not light enough. I can see the paper through that. We don't like that, because you know the oil paint is glossy, the paper is not, so we don't want that, except in the background. I don't mind in the background if it's showing through a bit. Now we're going to leave that for now, because this is only a demo. In fact, no, we're not. We're going to get some nice yellowy stems in here. I'm going to have them all in here, some darks. Oh, and don't forget, on the back of them, they're going to be darker, and they're going to be all crazy, and then we're going to mute them down in a minute as well. They're going to be slightly darker maybe this side, and some flashes of light. Now, if you were doing this, I'm not doing this from real life, I'm literally just doing this from my mind's eye, because it's a demonstration. But you would, and you really wanted to go realism, you would obviously pay a lot more attention to the variations and where the shadows and shades are in these in this area here. I'm going to now get my this brush again. I'm going to wet it off with some linseed oil, and I'm going to then drop my palette on the floor. I'm going to just gently sort of wipe over this now to give this kind of, and then wipe it off again, because I don't want to spread the green everywhere, but it gives this sort of impression of you know, the glass kind of frosting over the leaves. So we've pared it down a bit, we've knocked it back a bit, because the focus, of course, is this part of there. Okay, so nasturtiums can vary in colour from yellow to red. Obviously, the most common ones are the really orange ones. So the really good colours I've got for this are, I've got a deep cadmium red hue, an ordinary cadmium red, which is a very orangey red, and a cadmium yellow. If I need to darken them, I can darken them obviously with black or purple even. But I think I'm going to go with the deep cadmium red hue, and I'm going to use the brush to make the petals for me, and they have this kind of shape to them, nasturtiums, like almost like 2 at the top, 3 at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that for now, and I'm going to put another one in, and I'm going to put this one in on its side, and it's going to be sort of fairly abstract really. It's just going to be like that. That's all it's going to be. That was just 3 strokes. You could use a filbert round brush, would probably be better. I just got this one handy, so I'm using this one. And we're going to put, let's put another one here. Okay, and it can be sort of slightly squashed up on an angle and leaning over that leaf there. So you see how, now what you're doing here is you're using a strong bold colour because the flowers are the thing. So we've kept these impressionistic and in the background, and we've gone in really strong with the flowers. So now I'm going to go in with cadmium, just the cab. So that was cadmium red hue. Okay, and this is now just the cadmium red, but I have picked up a touch of cadmium yellow so that I will get a natural variation. And I'm going to put this, I'm going to do one up here like that, facing up. And these ones up here, when they're facing up, they have a little yellow tail. And we're not going to paint it in exactly how it's seen. We're just giving an impression. You can see already that you know that is a nasturtium sticking up and reaching towards the light. Okay, so we're going to put another one in. Where should we put another one? We're going to go in here, look. I'm going to just wet my brush a tiny bit because that is a little bit too dry. It's going to go behind there, like that. And we can fix those areas we don't like later, because this is just impressionistic. You see, when you pick up a little bit of the yellow, you get a more natural variation as you would get in a flower. And they get a little bit darker towards the centre. So you can just restate that like that. You can even just put a little darker drop there. And this is just all eye trickery. So it's just tricking the eye. Now, of course, if you go and examine it, you go, what is that jumble? That's a jumble. But of course, once you stand back, you can see immediately it's a vase of nasturtiums. And then we're going to go in with these little pretty yellow ones. We're going to go up here with a little, that's smaller, almost like primroses almost. I've got to go a bit bolder with the colour there, I think. Like that. And we'll definitely have one of those hanging down here like that. And possibly even, I'm going to put a bud there. Let's put another one here. Let's just do it. I don't want to pick too much of the background up here, so I'm going on quite thick, too dry, but we can fix it. Okay. And then clean off your brush, and now you're at a position where you're thinking, am I done? Okay. Do I want to do more? Do I want to add? Yeah, I'm going to put another one of those half ones there, like so, with a little yellow tail hanging down there. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of the sap green now, and I'm going to add some little buds, or suggestions of buds. Actually, they're not even. Yeah, you would be better with a different shape brush, but you know, this is me we're talking about. I will go in with a smaller brush and restate some of the very darkest areas around, because I do like a bit of negative painting at the end just to make things pop. So that, for instance, there, let me show you there. I'm going to have a light stem. Like so. Bit more light on there as well. Look, and there. Right, so now we're going to put a little bit more detail in. So these nasturtiums, they sort of get a bit darker towards the centre, and then you get these kind of, now we're not trying to paint exactly, we're trying to just create the impression using the darks and the lights and strong colours, you know, that we've got these beautiful flowers here. See? So we're going to restate the darks. I've just added a little bit of purple to my what's it called, cadmium red DPU, and I'm going to then go over the edges of these petals with restating the pure colour of the deep red hue. And then in the centre you usually get like a little flash of the green, this tail here, sort of, because it holds these petals which are slightly separate. So, and I'm again just flicking that on, really. Okay. Now, obviously, you can refine this but what I'm trying to do is break it down. If you're a beginner, as I say, when you're first starting to learn how to drive a car, this is how I did it. This is how I learned. I just broke it down constantly. I was thinking, you know, and also I kind of didn't have the patience when I was first starting to do long drawn out paintings. Well, I didn't have the time either. I mean, I you know, got kids and all the rest of it. So I used to think I'd just start with the basic. If I tried to do something complicated, all that happened was I demoralised myself and I got really upset, and then I'd give up and think I'm never going to do it. So I had to break it down and just decide that I was going to do it like learn anything else, you know, one bit at a time, one stage at a time. So I'm going to use a little bit of these yellow ones have this kind of like purple markings on them, a little bit like pansies almost, actually. And so I'm just going to just dot those in. I'm not even going to, this one I'm literally even just suggesting it there. A touch of red in there as well to vary the, it's all deceiving the eye. It's not even making really any sense, if you like, but it is kind of, if you know what I mean. I'm just going to add a little bit of white to the yellow now because I want some variation in this. I want to make it kind of pop, some of these little petals. You never really want to just end up with a two-tone flower. I mean, you've got to at least have sort of, you know, 3 variations. That's picked up too much blue there. I could do with a smaller brush. I mean, please do use a smaller brush. Don't do what I'm doing. It's just ridiculous what I'm doing. Just too lazy to pick up a smaller brush. I'm going to pick up a smaller brush. It's got a bit contaminated there. Okay. Could do with a clean palette as well. So I'm just going to just refine that. And that's the thing with oil painting as well. I mean, it's just, you can play because it doesn't dry straight away. So, you know, you can, if you don't like something, you can just blend over it, go over it, do what you like. It's wonderful for that. I mean, that's what makes it so good. It's so good for portraits, you know. Because, and then I like to just restate areas that I would like a little bit more pop to. Like the nasturtiums have that little green centre there, and I'm going to like a little bit of sort of more dark here. And then we go over make the lighter part pop, like so. And you spread, and I like putting it on quite thick like that. There we go over again, you know. Just refining those leaves somewhat, making them a better shape on that one. Keeping them a little bit dark in places. Don't refine the life out of it, you know, give it that nice artist's individual touch. And then what I'm going to do, and obviously this is a demo, so I'm going to more or less tied up here, but I am actually just going to use a bit of my neat cadmium. And I think the reason I like these nasturtiums is because there's not too much colour mixing. So if you're a beginner, that is you know, a really nice place to start, because you're using this deep red hue, cadmium red, which, as you can see, even on its own, look how orange that is compared to this red. This is cadmium yellow, and all that's done here is I've lightened it with white. This is sap green, lightened with white, or brightened and lightened with cadmium yellow. You've got your burnt sienna, which is my bog standard vintage style background, and you've got Naples yellow at the front here. And there's hardly any there's hardly any colour mixing really. You're kind of just mixing on the palette, on the paper, which is, you know, a really nice place for beginners to start. I'm going to take a little bit of my the purple, the dark that I used here. I'm just going to use that as a little bit of shadow here. But I am going to blend it out. I don't want a hard. Shadows also vary in colour, you know, so you have the very darkest part of the shadow, and I'm going to go just round here, just restating some of the darker areas around, suggesting shadows, and blend them out because shadows are subtle, so I'm just going to blend them out by not adding any more. And go do a bit of negative painting around these flowers and right down to the bottom here. If you wanted, you could put a little flower and petal depending on how confident you're feeling. So just blend this now out here and up here. Sometimes what I really like to do to draw attention to the shadow, to brighten, to deepen the shadow, is to take a lighter and sort of almost imagine there's a shard of light has come down here. So lighten this area here, and then you can see that this is darker here without even adding any more dark. But we are going to add more dark because it is darker, so we're just going to go in with where it's absolutely touching the base. You have that sort of darker bit there. And you will also have darker where the shadows of the stems come through here on this side, and we'll keep it to a nice, you know, complementary colour like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of the phthalo turquoise, which we're going to mix with titanium white, and we're going to put in a little bit of a marker there, and then we're going to get pure titanium white, and we're going to pull that across there. And then we're going to wash off our brush, not wash it off actually, just loosen it up. We're going to add a bit more of the light, but not as strong as this. We don't want it competing with this, but this is where the light is catching the glass. So those areas we're also going to highlight just a touch, as though the light just caught there in the bottom there. Okay, and I think if that was your very first painting, oh no, I haven't finished. I am just going to take a touch of black, but not thick. This is very thin. And we're just, as I said, going to do a little bit of negative painting around in the background to suggest, break it up. We're not doing the whole bit, we're just breaking it up in areas to suggest, you know, there's a mass of leaves behind here and the darkness around the petals here. Just keeping it simple for now so that you can focus on just mastering the basics. And there you have it. Nasturtiums for beginners. Let me just, there you are. Obviously we'll stand back from that, and there you have a really pretty picture that you would be really proud of. Okay, I hope you found that really helpful. Just please remember to subscribe, click the notification bell and like this video. Leave some comments below what you'd like me to see or demonstrate next, and share with any of your budding art friends. See you again soon. Bye.